Hi.
You've got, we should try that. What's your name?
What? Oh, this is Bridget Murphy, shamanic healer and teacher, and we are opening the pathway to our guidance. So we are on the fifth week of a 6-week series, and today we're going to be talking about creating ceremony.
She did that so well. I just like threw that right at her and she just stepped right into it. Yes, so this is so great. So welcome everybody. And and let's just take a moment to just breathe here and just get a little connected and get ready, because this is great information that we're going to share, because it's so powerful. When we shared it last week, you never even got it.
Yes, last week, unfortunately, we didn't hit the go button. So we are happy to be here live with you today.
Okay, so creating ceremony.
Yes.
How important is it in today's world to have ceremony? And what is the difference between ceremony and celebration?
Great questions. So ceremony, in the context of what we're talking about, is very connected to opening your pathway to your guidance. In our world today, ceremony is a fundamental part of our sense of community and our sense of spirituality. Now, traditionally, in cultures that have ceremony as a part of their way of life, there are ceremonies that are created for specific purposes. There are ceremonies for celebration, for weddings, for funerals, for ceremonies that are specifically geared towards communicating with the spirits for healing. So the difference between a ceremony that's a celebration and a ceremony that is for grieving or for a funeral is the contents of a ceremony. The contents are different. There are certain aspects of a ceremony that are always the same, and there are aspects of a ceremony that are different depending on when the ceremony is, what the ceremony is for, and who is sharing the ceremony. Yeah.
So a ceremony, I think, like in our day and age, most people think of a wedding ceremony, right?
Right.
That is there. But there's ceremony that really was, it's still in some cultures, a passing of the torch from childhood to adulthood, right?
A rite of passage.
A rite of passage. That is the phraseology. That would be a key ceremony that still goes on by many also.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. In many cultures, a rite of passage is something that is celebrated when young children go from child to young adult. That's celebrated. When what age she's at, that is celebrated. When a young man steps into his role in his community as a male, that's celebrated. Yeah, we in our culture don't really have a lot of ceremony around that. We didn't get that piece. We didn't get that piece. But I will say that there are many, many folks on the earth who are recreating and creating rites of passages for young people, because they really realize that that's really important, and that maybe in our modern culture is something that they missed out on, that the adults missed out on, and so it's being created and recreated in different circles and communities around the globe. I'm part of a community that is earth-based, that celebrates the seasons of the earth and celebrates the turning of the wheel, as it were, and also celebrates the importance of children moving into adulthood or young adulthood, and creates ceremony around that. So it's really nice to see that even though our entire culture doesn't do that, that there are pieces and pockets where people are bringing that back and doing it.
So in a sense, it was sort of taught out of us, but we are, as people are in reconnecting to their pathway to guidance, right? They're being guided back to these ideas that ceremony is so important and connecting to that.
As people kind of hunker down and really realize they want to go for what's real and they want to have what's really real in their life, ceremony is a part of it. Listening to the guidance and the invisible world, listening to spirit is a part of that. There are a great many people right now who are wanting to know how to connect with spirit because of the times that we're in. And because it is time, it's time for everybody to come back home into their hearts and to remember that they're connected with something that's much bigger than us. Yeah,
and coming back home into your hearts. I think this is like deja vu, but the third time in 24 hours that somebody has made that reference, that home isn't, we're not talking about your house anymore. Home is that space that each of us can find, whether we say it's in our heart, but it's that presence that you know that you are a part of something beyond any physical idea. It is this total connectedness that you are one, like you are really home.
Yes. I remember a moment when I realized that my home was in my heart, and I realized, oh, no matter what, I'm okay because it's here, right here is where my home is. Yeah, powerful moment. And I'm so glad to hear that other people are talking about that. Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about.
Yes, I wanted to get back to what you're talking about here.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we would create, like what would be the purpose for creating ceremony. We know that why we have ceremonies. We have ceremonies for rites of passage, for baby blessings and christenings and weddings and funerals. So we have that, but why do we have it? What purpose does it serve us? And what purpose does ceremony serve us on our way to being Incans? And so just a couple pieces that are important is that ceremony creates the space that allows us to step out of our everyday ordinary reality. And that is really important for us to do. Just like we go to sleep each night and that feeds us, we step out of our waking reality and go to sleep. Important part of life. Stepping out of our regular reality and creating ceremony feeds us on a spiritual level. And it also calls the attention of spirit. It says, we are doing something sacred here and we would like you to join us. So that's another reason why we participate in ceremony. It also allows our divine or spirit to know that we're taking our relationship with them serious. And the last reason that we do ceremony or reason why we do ceremony is because it affects the subconscious. When you have something that you do over and over again, and aspects of ceremony are done over and over again, when you have that, it moves into your subconscious. And each time you step into a ceremony that is created over and over again, your subconscious mind understands that it's time for something sacred, and the rest of you goes there more easily because there's been a path that has been forged over and over again. So those are just some reasons why would we be doing ceremony, and why, as a person, an individual on a spiritual path, why would I do ceremony? I understand that not all spiritual paths include ceremony. And on a shamanic path or an earth-centered path, there is always ceremony. So it's important I want to give that to people. I want people to know that why we create ceremony and how to create ceremony so that they can do it for themselves. Yeah.
So there's a great connection in shamanic healing work, right? In the whole idea between the ground, the earth, right? Making sure you're very grounded, and the spiritual realm, all in the same time in a ceremony.
Yes. The earth and the sky are always a part of everything. And you can look at any shamanic tradition or any earth-based tradition and find that connection between us, where we are in our place, and the earth and the sky. It's always noticed, paid attention to, and worked with. We work with those energies all the time.
Well, I just think it's important to just really draw upon that of when you're saying the connection to the earth, because there are many people that they'll have new moon rituals, right? Or ceremonies or things like that. But it's a lot from my perspective will just be about, in a sense, connecting with what's up above, but not necessarily what's on the ground. And so your practice is always bringing the earth and the sky together as one.
Yes, yes. And also in shamanic practices or shamanic cultures, there's an understanding that when we connect, we're not just connecting here and now, we're connecting with the past and our ancestors, and we're connecting with the future. And the ancestors, you know, or the ones who will be born and who will have us as ancestors. It's time, and understanding is cyclical and all connected. So yeah, there's an honoring of all stages of life. Yeah.
So where did the first ceremonies sort of come from?
Mm-hmm. They came out of being connected to what we could not see. So the first peoples on each continent lived very close to the earth, and they learned how to be in connection with the earth. And so as that unfolded and as we grew as people, we developed a system and a form of connecting, for connecting our hearts with the divine, connecting our hearts with the earth and the sky. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we, as an individual, do we need to do this within a group or just as an individual?
You can do ceremony by yourself. You can do ceremony in a group. What is important is to know the components of a ceremony so that you can do them on your own. And when I teach classes and we come together for circles, we always do all of these aspects of ceremony. And so what you can do is kind of take this formula and make it your own. Once you know the pieces that are involved in a ceremony, you can do your own ceremonies. Most shamanic peoples do. They do their own ceremonies, whether they're solo or in a group. Yeah, there's not no one is ranked in a way that they can't do ceremony. Once you know how, you can do ceremonies. Yeah. And of course, in a shamanic culture, depending what your role is in the culture, you will do the ceremony. So you can prepare yourself in many ways. You may prepare yourself by getting into a meditative state. Some folks prepare themselves by taking a calming bath or a ritual bath with certain herbs. Some folks make sure that they have eaten, or some folks will fast before they do a ceremony. It really is individual. Thank you for letting us know, Eleanor. It is individual. How you do ceremony is very individual or how you prepare for ceremony is completely up to you. People usually develop their way of preparing for ceremony over time. So generally, you're putting yourself into a place where you're grounded and centered before you begin. That's the first step of a ceremony. Second step of a ceremony is to actually create the space. Create the space that you're going to have your ceremony in. If it's in your bedroom or your basement, then you would have the items that you want to have ready for your ceremony, typically items that are already on your altar, plus items that are specific for that ceremony. You would get them ready. And there are many ways to create the space. Some people will burn some incense in the creation of their space. Some folks will create a type of a physical circle where they draw a circle around them Some people will just designate that this is the space and here is what we are utilizing for this ceremony. So creating of the space and designating the space as a space for the ceremony. That's your next piece. With me so far? Yeah. For when I do ceremony for myself, I have my altar, and I have my altar lit up and open, ready for a ceremony. It's something that I always have present, and so when I do a ceremony, I have the same altar. I just have different things on it. There's something else I wanted to say. Oh, well, I don't know where it went. Go ahead, Jackie.
The placement of rocks around the circle, for some reason, is that a necessity or just a preference?
That is a preference and maybe a protocol for some spiritual paths. Some people will designate that physical space around them and will maybe make a circle of flowers or a circle of rocks or a circle of sand or a circle of salt. Some people will designate a physical, a perimeter or of the circle. Thank you. Yes, that can be part of the ceremony too. For me, I have my space set up and I have my altar set up and I know where I'm going to be and I go from there. So the creating of the space. And the next piece, the third piece, is an honoring and an invitation for Spirit, God, Creator to come into the space. And that can be done silently. It can be done out loud. It can be done just holding your hands up and saying, I honor and invite all of my allies. That's shamanic word for helpers, all of the spirits, all of the directions, whatever way that you would honor what is sacred to you. So the honoring and the invitation for spirit to be present there. The next piece is to state your purpose. You say why you're here. I am here to sit and meditate. Maybe you're doing a ceremony and you're going to meditate. I am here to lay a prayer out for the people in Florida. I am here to do some healing work for a friend of mine. I am here to celebrate the crossing over of someone, who recently moved to spirit. So you state your intention, why you're here, what you're doing. And then you do what it is that you've come to do. Do the prayer, send the energy, be in whatever celebration, you're creating. If it's a celebration, you do the work that you came to do. The next piece is to have gratitude and make an offering. And in many traditions, an offering is something that is physical. It may be tobacco, it may be herbs, it may be honey, it may be alcohol. Different spiritual traditions have offerings that they leave in gratitude for the spirits or gratitude for life, gratitude. So the gratitude in the offering is that next piece. And then the last piece is the closing of the ceremony, saying, you've said thank you, and just stating we are now, we thank you for being here, and we're now going to end our time together and open up this space. I always like to have a blessing, and as I open up the space, I do everything with drumming and rattling. So when I open the space, I use my drum. When I close the space, I use my drum. And that designates the beginning and the end. And I also set the intention that all of the energy that was here for this ceremony open up and be used for healing into the future and the past.
When you use your drum, is there a set opening and closing, or is it what you feel? Is one different than the other?
That's a good question. I have a set opening and closing that I do. When I'm working with a group, we'll all have drums and rattles in the opening and the closing. Sometimes it's just with drums and rattles, and sometimes it's with singing. Sometimes I will sing as I open up the space. It really depends. I don't always sing, so it's not like a definite that I always do it, but it depends on what is moving through me and how I really want to honor and open up that space. Yeah.
Have you ever had an experience with the ceremony, for instance, a group ceremony, or maybe it could have been personal, but I'm feeling more group, that you came together intentionally for, let's say, as we're just talking about, so many of us thought about the Florida, and that you could actually feel that the ceremony and the intention that you were doing was, that you were supported, like you just felt like it was really real, like everything, it was no longer just an intention. It was like you really felt like everything was opening up.
Yeah, so part of what we do with the drum is we journey on the drum. And so we travel to places to do healing work. And when we do that, the experience is very real. You see, smell, taste, and feel. And so it is always very real. It's just a matter of how well the person, how experienced the person is in feeling those things. Yeah. And sometimes we will all have a similar experience. If we're doing a ceremony for the waters, or if we're doing a ceremony for a natural disaster, each member of the group will have a similar experience when they do their particular journey or healing work. Yes. Yes, it's very real. And you can feel the shift of energy in the room when the ceremony opens. You can absolutely feel, even if you don't know what ceremony is and you've never been to a ceremony, if you're sitting in a ceremony, you feel that. You can feel that we've altered the space, which is one of the very reasons for doing ceremony. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's a very powerful tool. So what stops people from doing it consistently?
Yeah. What stops people from doing it is that they don't know how. Okay. No one has given them permission or a protocol or an example of what it looks like. That's what stops people. I believe the more people know how to create their own ceremonies, and the more that they understand how powerful it is, they'll do it. Yeah.
So is that an element that you teach, like in one of your group courses, or is that something that they just get from experience with you directly, or how can we get this information more out there?
Well, it's both. Whenever we do group work, it's always in ceremony. My shamanic classes always start and end with opening the space and closing the space, and the workshop happens in the container of that. So the whole thing is a ceremony. And when I'm do online workshops, we do the same thing. So yeah, so people, I give instruction on how to do it, like kind of, I just listed the elements of the ceremony. But the beauty of working in a group like that is that you get to be in it and you learn what to do and how to do it based on what you see the other people doing. So it's a real experiential experience. Yeah, it's a very hands-on experience, because there's really no point in just telling you how to do it if you're not going to share what it feels like to be a part of it. Yeah,
I think we're beyond that part of our education where we know if we know it, we're doing it. So if we recognize the power of ceremony, we're participating in it. We're engaging in it. So on an online, for instance, I'm interested, do you, for yourself personally, when you say it's in a container and you're doing, let's say, 4-week group course, so would you actually set the intention and the ceremony for yourself, in a sense, before you even participated with the group, and then maybe expand upon that within the group, and then like close something in a session and then close something else with yourself? Or are you always opening your ceremony as a group?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I always, no matter where I go and what I do, I open up the space before anybody arrives. So I do that live and I do that online. I have my own ceremony that I do to prepare, because to me, doing workshops is a ceremony. So I open up the space beforehand, and then we open up the space together, whether we're online or we are in person. And it looks a little different. If we're online, I have everyone bring a candle. Right. And if they have a drum or rattle, they'll bring that. My workshops so far are all live. I don't do, I've not done any recorded workshops. So everyone is live in real time, you know. And so, yeah, we'll open that up. Now, the difference is that not everybody can see the entire altar, although I'm working on, you know, positioning with these things is tough. So I'm working on that. But yeah, we open up the space and do pretty much the exact same thing that we do if we were in person.
So when is the next group ceremony that you're doing that people can reach out and touch you virtually and participate in?
Yeah, well, I have a couple of things going on. Right now, I am in the middle of, or in the process of launching a pilot program for my next online workshop. So if folks are interested in joining the pilot program for the Shamanic Journey workshop, I've opened it up to my Spirit Works tribe first. So there's space in there. After all my Spirit Works folks have joined, then that is open to whoever would like to join us. If you feel like you want to do that, contact me soon, because we're starting on September 20th. That's my next workshop. And then beyond that, I am going to be offering, I think we're going to be talking about that on the summit. I'm going to be launching something brand new that I'll share on the summit on September 22nd.
Top secret until then, everybody. You have to.
Yes, top secret until then. But for now, I have a 4-week shamanic journey work online program. It starts September 20th, and I still have openings in it, and folks from my Spirit Works tribe are stepping into that. So if you're interested, you can contact me at spiritworkshealingarts.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a week. Thursday it starts.
Right? It starts Wednesday.
So
Wednesday,
week tomorrow. So
yes.
Get on it, everybody, because if you've been following along in this dialogue, you know that there's something more calling you, because you're obviously resonating with this conversation. So this is just awesome that you're starting it a week tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Very, very excited. And it'll be a nice opportunity for folks to receive feedback on what their experiences are. A lot of workshops most workshops are not live. Mm-hmm. They're pre-recorded with a question and answer segment, but this will be completely live, which is a treat, because you get to see everyone in real time, ask questions, and receive feedback on what you're experiencing.
I think that's where things are going now, because it's like, if we're talking about in the world being present, how in the world do you record something, you know, weeks, months ago to have available for course material, you know, in one respect now? I mean, you write things down and there's a book, but there's an essence for those that want to stay present in that moment of the power of coming together live.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Thanks for asking about that.
Well, I'm thankful that I could come back and join you. I think there must have been a ceremony going on, a passing of the torch here, you know, as I just got booted out. So this is all very cool. So next week we'll be back again one more time.
Yes, we'll be back one more time, and we're going to cover some of the components of what you can do now, and what it's supposed to look like and feel like to connect with your guidance. We've talked about preparing yourself, grounding yourself. We've talked about centering, the fact that we are containers and that we create space. Those are all the beginning steps. Once we have all that knowledge, we can start to actively engage with spirit, and it's not so difficult to do. So next week, we'll go over, you know, the different steps of creating the space for yourself. And then I'll talk about some practical exercises and techniques, I guess, that you can do to open to spirit and connect. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. As always, we're going to work on getting centered and grounded and opening your pathway, or opening the pathway to your guidance, because this is important, your guidance versus Bridget's guidance and my guidance. It's your guidance. And very, very grateful for you being here, sharing all your wonderful wisdom that flows through you, Bridget. You're just a gem, and we're so appreciative, aren't we, everybody?
Oh, thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, I appreciate this opportunity. It's really fun to come on and talk, and I love your questions. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll see you again next week. And goodbye, everybody. Make sure you leave your comments below if you've got any other questions, and get in touch with, once again, where are they going on SpiritWorks? Is it SpiritWorks?
SpiritWorksHealingarts.com. Yeah.
Just put that in the comments below, just so they know.
Absolutely.
Let's make a little blurb or whatever. 4-week program starts. Contact now.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.